there is one word that describes true heroes. One word that defines their sacrifice. Selfless.
My husband, he was selfless. He was willing to give up his life for every single American citizen in this country. Republicans, Democrats, independents, he didn't care. Didn't matter to him. Didn't matter because he believed in the democracy of this country. And because of people like him, we are able to be in this world today, in this country that we live in. He was honored to be able to fight for all of us.
Our fallen troops embody stories of courage, sacrifice, family, community, legacy, and liberty. Principles that continue to inspire us to this day. The Hyundai Air Show is an annual one-of-a-kind event that commemorates the men and women who have laid down their lives in service of our country. Thousands of people come together to experience one of the largest collections of military assets in the world as all 5 branches of the U.S. Armed Forces showcase their technology and equipment on the beaches of South Florida.
We're so proud to have the National Salute to America's Heroes here in Miami Beach. Miami Beach, a lot of people don't know, has a long history with the military, dating all the way back to World War II.
Miami's a real big, diverse city. And so we're gonna come out here, they're gonna see a microcosm of themselves, but people who have committed their lives to defend our country and our nation and our way of life.
The Show has been celebrating the spirit of Memorial Day since 1995. But the history of the holiday dates back to the years following the Civil War when it was called Decoration Day. Since the founding of our country, more than 1 million Americans have died in U.S. conflicts, selflessly sacrificing their lives to make our country and our world better. Memorial Day is about remembering and giving thanks to them. Throughout the centuries, Americans have come to celebrate this nationwide day of remembrance with barbecues, parades, and other ceremonies. But no matter the tradition, this holiday will always have particular significance to Gold Star families. The Gold Star title represents a family that has lost a loved one in military service. The phrase dates back to World War I when flags were hung in windows. Blue stars indicated someone in the service, while a gold star indicated a service member who had been killed. Memorial Day is a time to honor the Gold Star sacrifice as well.
Yeah, this is cute. This is his wedding picture.
We've joined the ranks of so many people through the years that have lost a son or daughter in combat. Doug felt, and we felt, that all of us have an obligation to serve. That's simply the way he grew up.
Within the exceptional community of our country's real-life heroes, there are those that are born true leaders. For legendary Marine Douglas Zembiec, his leadership begins and ends with his family.
My son was a real easy kid to raise. He was excited about everything.
Oh, remember this?
Yeah, we'd go out with him and explore those caves.
Remember when he got that rattlesnake with the bow and arrow?
Yeah.
Oh. This is one of my favorites. When he thought he was so tough and strong.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites too. Yeah.
He thought he had big muscles. And he had this high school wrestling picture. I think he was like in the 6th grade when he came home and said he wanted to wrestle. He was very patriotic. He had me sew an American flag on the back of his singlet because he knew the American flag should never touch the ground.
I don't think he ever got pinned after that. He was not going to let the American flag dip and hit the ground.
Where is he in this picture? Oh, here he is, right in the middle.
Yeah. At an early age, he had talked about going to the military, and by 5th or 6th grade, he wanted to be a Marine.
He actually got accepted to the Military Academy, the Naval Academy, and Air Force Academy. But the Naval Academy had the best wrestling team. So he decided he wanted to go to the Naval Academy, and then he became a Marine.
He wanted to lead men in combat, but he always wanted to be the point of the sword.
Doug and I met in Virginia Beach in 2001. He was just so different from anyone I'd ever met before in my life. Just always did the right thing. Every day was a happy day. He'd wake up in the morning and, what are we gonna do today? What are we gonna do today? It's a positive day. He was intoxicating. He just could make you believe that you could do anything if you put your mind to it. And that's the way he lived his life every single day. You would never feel unsafe. Like, wow, I'm protected from the world having him by my side. And there was nothing stopping that guy. Before we got married, we knew that we were going to start a family immediately. We picked the name Fallon, and it meant in charge. Totally fit the bill for the Zembiec family. So he's like, I'm going to give you 3 choices for the middle name: Justice, Integrity, or Liberty. I was like, okay, Fallon, Integrity, no. Fallon, Liberty, no. Fallon, Justice, yes. Doug always knew he wanted to enter into Force Recon, the elite division of the Marine Corps. Only the best get to go to Force Recon. And Doug wasn't called Captain America for anything.
The guy was just a beast. If you looked at him, when you'd catch him without a shirt, he looked like he should be a Spartan. His philosophy was leading from the front. He told us, no matter what we do, I'm going to be there. I've seen him in the middle of a street in a gunfight, looking to my right, and there was Doug Zembiec.
He just had so much respect for his men. You could tell when he talked about them, he loved those guys.
There really wasn't a difference between his real family and his Marine Corps family.
Throughout his career, Doug deployed all over the world and was in Fallujah during the Iraq War, earning him the nickname Lion of Fallujah.
We've been mortared, rocketed, and been shot at. It was pretty intense. The Marines fought like lions, and it was a team effort.
Doug continued serving his country on the front lines in the years following.
On May 11th, he had called me that morning, and he's like, put the phone up to Fallon's ear. And she said, Dada, like for the first time. And I'm thinking to myself, I have the best life. My daughter's awesome. My husband's the best.
It's something you don't ever live through.
And I'll never forget what John said to me. He's like, oh my God, he was the sun of our universe.
Love that man.
We had Chaplain Radetzky come and do the service. He used these words. Today we've lost a great war hero. We have 2 choices. You can fear everything and run, or you can face everything and rise.
He influenced so many people that I wish there were more Doug Zembiec's. And it's a shame because there'll never be another Doug. But we could use a lot more of them.
Major Zembiec represented through his whole life those principles that we aspire to.
Someone who earns the Bronze Star for valor and the nickname Lion of Fallujah. someone who earns a Silver Star for courage under fire and a second Purple Heart. There is something special about a person who makes an impact not only on those who knew him personally, but also on those who are inspired in reading stories about him.
Doug was an amazing writer. I mean, people take his quotes and they live with them day in and day out.
Live with integrity, for without integrity, we deceive ourselves. Fight for what you believe, for without valor, we lose our freedom. Lead from the front, conquer your fears. Be valorous on the field of battle and take responsibility for your actions. Major Douglas A. Zembiec, U.S. Marine Corps. Principles my father taught me.
I just have so many good memories, and that's what I try to think about Douglas. I just don't believe in self-pity, and Douglas didn't either.
Live on those memories, but do something with your life. Life doesn't stop, it goes on.
The race fell in the way we would have raised her together. We talk about the principles, we talk about believing in something bigger than yourself. This country was Doug's family. I mean, he was honored to be able to fight for all of us.
Stay tuned for more Gold Star Tribute, a national salute to America's heroes, presented by Hyundai. The annual Memorial Day Hyundai Air and Sea Show highlights the strength and might of the U.S. Air Force. For over a century, U.S. airmen have been defending our country from the sky. From the very first aerial dogfights in World War I until today, the brave legacy of our nation's airmen carries on.
My name's Marilyn, and I'm a Gold Star daughter. My dad was Newman Kamei Golden, First Lieutenant, U.S. Air Force. My dad was always bigger than life to me. He always was thinking about me and my brother. And my mom, they were very close. He ultimately decided to enlist for family to be able to support us, and he had this burning desire to be a pilot. I was quite young when my dad went to Tuskegee. That was where the black soldiers went to become pilots. It was a big deal and very competitive being black in this country at that time. The soldiers had a lot to prove. And Daddy just had that go-get-'em attitude.
Newman, along with his fellow Tuskegee Airmen, were the first African-American aviators in U.S. military history. Together, they flew more than 15,000 combat missions during World War II, making a significant contribution to the war effort, and also played a role in eventually ending racial segregation in the U.S. military.
He wanted to fight for the liberties of all people so that we could grow up being just as free as anybody else. And that was my dad's main goal. World War II, he was only 20-something when his aircraft had mechanical problems. And then he was captured by the enemy as a prisoner of war. When he came home, he wasn't the same person. I think it was the mistreatment. He never talked about it. My dad continued on in the service with the simple fact that he wouldn't give up and that he believed in this country. Then he deployed to Korea. I was maybe 7. That was the last time I saw my dad.
He was shot down doing a mission that was actually very risky. It was a mission where he had to go in and fly low over enemy territory.
Took the government 3 years to classify my dad as deceased. My brother and I always had the hope that Daddy was still alive. On Sundays, my mother always brought out the medals and the scrapbooks to keep his spirit alive. This is where we lived on the Army base. I want my family to know that they have a legacy. Someone gave their life for them to walk around freely. Your grandfather was a Tuskegee Airman.
I didn't learn about Tuskegee Airmen or anything in school. Only way that I knew about them was through my mom and through my grandmother. It says merit, for military merit, Newman C. Golden.
He flew a plane. Very proud of that. And it's funny because I don't like to fly, so I don't think I would have been a pilot. Got a feeling that he's in all of us.
As Kenny matured and got older and we started looking back at pictures of my dad, he was just like us.
Yeah, they look like twins. They look like twins, man.
When I first saw that picture, and I said, I don't remember dressing up in a World War II outfit. And it was just one of those things that I said, wow, I have more in common with him. And it made me feel even more closer to him.
Definitely feel like my grandfather's a hero. And I want everybody I don't brag, but I'm at work. Oh, my grandfather was a Tuskegee Airman. Look, I wear the shirt. I let everybody know, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm proud. That's like one of the things I'm proud of.
This is you guys' legacy. It's not just mine to keep to myself. In 2014, the military gave my dad a dedication.
My whole family got together. They were putting his name on a wall.
We had a flyover. We had the 10-gun salute. I was given a flag. And, that to me was the finale of my dad's existence.
To receive the American flag that he fought for, it says, we are Americans. He died for this country. He gave it all for this country.
His race, it didn't matter. That's the one thing that I am proud of, because the one thing that they all have in common is being a veteran and knowing that they've made a sacrifice.
It has taken me 70-some years to get closure, but he's always alive within me.
Knowing what he did, it made me feel like I could accomplish anything, and then I have to take it a step forward. I have an obligation to him to do better.
You share the story, and just by sharing, you're giving respect and honoring them beyond Memorial Day and any other holiday.
We should be proud of the men and women that came along that wanted something better. And that was what my dad was about.
Stay tuned for more Gold Star Tribute, a national salute to America's heroes, presented by Hyundai. With its fighter jets, aircraft carriers, and battleships, the U.S. Navy defends America's freedom at sea and in the air. At the annual Hyundai Air and Sea Show, thousands of Americans gather to pay tribute to the Navy's fallen sailors and their families. Many Gold Star children grew up feeling like no one understood what they went through. Finding a community of fellow sons and daughters who lost their dads in Vietnam became a life-changing experience for Denise Reed, Margot Carlson-Delonia, and Jill Hubbs.
I am the proud daughter of Donald Richard Hubbs, who was a Navy pilot who unfortunately is still missing in Vietnam to this very day. My dad had been in the Navy for 20 years. He was very patriotic. He was very proud to be serving our country. He was stationed on the Yorktown during his second tour of duty in Vietnam, and he had become commanding officer of his squadron.
On March 17, 1968, Commander Donald Hubbs was piloting an S-2E Navy tracker reconnaissance aircraft on a mission off the coast of North Vietnam when it disappeared off the radar. Donald and his crew were declared MIA. The aircraft and their bodies were never recovered.
I was in 5th grade. Our church pastor came to the classroom and said something to the teacher, and before I knew it, they said, "You're going home." We got to our house and there were cars everywhere, and we went inside, and I was so relieved to see my mom, and then she took us in the other room and told us our dad's plane had disappeared but they were looking for him. In my 10-year-old mind, they would find him. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, months into years, just waiting to see my dad, like surely he would come, and it never happened. So I don't know at what point we decided, or we knew in our hearts he's probably never coming back. The entire time I grew up, from that point on, I never knew anybody else that had lost their father in Vietnam. It was hard to explain when people asked you, "Where's your dad?" Whatever, and remember how controversial the Vietnam War was, so you didn't really want to talk about it because a lot of people condemned the soldier instead of the war. In the early 90s, I heard about a gathering that was going to take place in Washington, D.C. at the Wall, and it was the sons and daughters who had lost their fathers in Vietnam, and I talked to my mom about it, and she went with me. My dad's name is on panel 45 East, line 12, and his crewmates are right there with him too. It meant a lot that my mom was there with me to go to the Wall and visit and touch my dad's name, and that trip will always be special to me because she was there with me, but also because I met all these other sons and daughters who had grown up with very similar experiences that I had had. That's the first time I went, the very first gathering, which was 1991. And then I met Denise and many others that had lost their dads.
My name is Denise Reed. I am the proud daughter of Sergeant Harold Reed, who was killed in Vietnam on July 3rd, 1966. It was an ambush. There were about 19 men killed that day. And at that time, I was 6 years old. Many of us feel like we lost two parents at that time because sometimes our mothers went through a whole lot afterwards. And unlike now, we didn't have a lot of the support systems that are in place for Gold Star families.
In 1991, Denise became a founding member of Sons and Daughters in Touch in an effort to connect Gold Star children from the Vietnam War.
Our group is a community. We don't check to see what rank or branch our father was in, or our emotions are the same wherever we come from. It's a way where we gather and we share our experiences. We share not only we went through, but our families, our mothers. Jill, Margot, and I, we're sisters. We refer to each other as sisters. My situation is just a tad bit different because my father was killed in Vietnam, and I know it, and his body was recovered, and I saw it. Their dads are missing in action.
My name is Margot Carlson Delonia. I'm the daughter of John Carlson. My dad was a pilot in the U.S. Air Force, and he served in Vietnam. He was shot down on the afternoon of December 7th, 1966. They don't believe that he could have possibly survived. I was involved in Sons and Daughters in Touch, but I decided I wanted to start my own organization. I wanted to make this sense of community a global concept. The Two Sides Project really seeks to unite sons and daughters who lost fathers on opposite sides of the war. I grew up hating most things Vietnam because I only thought about what I had lost. I just thought if I go to that last step, which is going to the place where my father died and standing in that place, and I come face to face with the Vietnamese, any last vestiges of hatred toward Vietnam would be gone. And then Jill stood up and said, I want to go.
And we went to the exact places where our fathers were either killed or became missing. We got to honor our fathers, which was extremely powerful. Once I met the people and saw the country and experienced the things that I did, I started thinking of it as a country, not the war. Maybe I'll never know what happened to my dad. I may never have the final answers, but it did give me a sense of strength and peace. There's strength in numbers, they say, and it's really true. And sometimes with our group even too, we don't even have to explain anything.
Yeah.
We do know, I know how you feel, I know how you feel, and you definitely know how I feel.
You know, I think you got to find your tribe in this life, and when you do, oh, how wonderful it is to be in a community of people who share experiences with you, but also who encourage you to use those experiences for the greater good.
Stay tuned for more Gold Star Tribute, a national salute to America's heroes, presented by Hyundai. The U.S. Coast Guard is a unique branch of the military. It's charged with maritime law enforcement under the Department of Homeland Security and assisting during wartime under the Department of Defense. At the Hyundai Air and Sea Show, the ability of our Coast Guard rescue swimmers is on full display. Day in and day out, men and women of the U.S. Armed Forces risk their lives to protect our country and our citizens. Coast Guardsman Terrell Horn was no different.
Senior Chief Terrell Horn, he was hilarious. What people loved most about him was just his personality. He talked to you like a person. If he didn't know you, he wanted to know you.
He was just humble. He never judged anybody. He never acted like he was better than anybody. He was always on your team, and he was always there to help.
When he was a senior in high school, his first choice was the Air Force. And he brought a recruiter home one day, and it ended up where he was too tall to be a pilot. One day he was at the ocean looking out at the water, and he says, I'm going to join the Coast Guard. He didn't go into detail a lot, but I know when he was in North Carolina, he saved 67 lives in a year.
Terrell was a patriot. He loved serving. He loved being out in the water, having a sense of purpose. He was dedicated to the Coast Guard, but Terrell's family meant the world to him. He always put them first. I was Terrell's commanding officer. He was the second in command. While we were on Cutter Halibut, there was a significant uptick in smuggling along the Southern California coast, so we were being diverted increasingly to respond.
I remember being woken up by one of my shipmates telling me we might have a target of interest to go take a look at.
It's absolutely pitch black. There's dense cloud cover. We've got a C-130 now telling us the smuggling boat is tied up at Smuggler's Cove, and he's just waiting there. Terrell takes bosun's mate second class Mike Walker and two guys into our small boat. We were going to send the small boat in from the north, and then Halibut is going to hang back and kind of try to block the exit.
We bumped fists and we drove out into the night. Once the full vessel came into view and we can see people on board, my boarding team started to announce who we were. That vessel came up in speed immediately and came right at us.
They accelerated from a dead stop, and they turned, and they aimed directly at the small boat.
The more I turned to get out of the way, they just followed us.
One of our guys in the small boat saw the boat coming and was able to draw his gun and shoot at them before they hit.
They hit us broadside right in the center where I sit. Senior Chief Horn was behind me, and he had a view of what was going to happen, so he got me out of the way.
Instead of trying to save himself, Senior Chief Horn pulled BM2 Walker out of the way so that he wouldn't be crushed by the smuggling boat. And in doing so, Senior Chief Horn had been ejected from the small boat.
When I kind of popped up and reoriented myself, the first person that I did see was Senior Chief Horn. He was in the water. His life jacket had deployed, and he was there, and he was motionless. It was grim. It was not a good situation. We did our best to try to keep him alive for as long as possible. But unfortunately, he didn't make it. When we got to the pier, he was pronounced dead there at the pier. I believe 100% I am here because he pushed me out of the way. He got me out of the way. If Senior Chief Terrell Horn was here, I would tell him thank you. You've given me the opportunity to have a family and to continue.
I felt very proud of my son for saving the lives that he saved. There's no greater love than sacrifice. There's no greater love for a man to give his life for another.
On December 2nd, 2012, Terrell Horn was awarded the Coast Guard Medal. And on March 29th, 2019, the Coast Guard commissioned a new fast response cutter and named it the Terrell Horn.
I am humbled, honored to pay tribute to the life of Terrell Horn III.
Memorial Day has changed for me. It means more. It's deeper to me. It's a very, very important, serious day to celebrate our men and women that fought.
To me, this country is a collection of people that are just like Terrell. No matter where we come from as Americans, that's one thing that we've all got in common, is that as Americans, we will absolutely help each other out no matter what.
Stay tuned for more Gold Star Tribute, a national salute to America's heroes presented by Hyundai. At the annual Hyundai Air and Sea Show, the Golden Knights showcased the courage of the U.S. Army. Since the birth of our country, soldiers have courageously fought and given their lives in defense of our nation. Although women have only officially been allowed to serve in combat since 2016, there were a courageous few doing it long before, like First Lieutenant Ashley White.
Ashley and I were born September 3rd, 1987 in Alliance, Ohio. We were twins, and she would always say, together we were one, because she was left-handed and I was right. We came from the womb together, and we were best friends. She was genuine, she was kind, she was patient, she was quiet. Both Ashley and I went into gymnastics, so we were trained from a young age to be very strong and agile. Upon graduation from high school, Ashley had the courage to enter ROTC at Kent State University, and she came into her own. The ROTC just helped her break out of her shell. Upon graduation, Ashley became an officer within the Army and then heard about this opportunity to be part of this cultural support program.
In 2010, the U.S. military created the Cultural Support Team Program, or CST, for select female soldiers to embed with men from special ops units like Navy SEALs and Army Rangers on sensitive missions in Afghanistan.
The cultural support teams were created because it was culturally inappropriate for men to talk or touch Afghan women or children. So in support of respecting Afghan culture, the Army decided to bring someone that could do that job.
Only the best of the best would be accepted.
The selection process for the CST program was very challenging. Parts of the training has been nicknamed 100 hours of hell. It's just physically, mentally, emotionally challenging on every end.
Going through any special operations training, I think, takes a lot of courage and heart. They want to see you fall apart because that's when they can see if you're meant for this type of mission.
So 300 females tried out for it. They selected roughly 80, and Ashley was number 2.
In 2011, Ashley became part of the groundbreaking CST program. By August that same year, she deployed to Afghanistan and attached with men from the elite 75th Ranger Regiment, 2nd Battalion, a special ops unit known for operating at the tip of the spear.
Ashley and I ended up being partners down in Kandahar, and over time we ended up being the best of friends. She was so humbled. As a soldier's phenomenal. Like, she was the best at shooting, the best at fitness. She was petite and small, but her strength was just incredible. I'm sure she was stronger than most of the guys that we were deployed with.
I have heard from fellow Rangers and CSTs that Ashley could fast rope up 25 feet on rope climbs, sometimes without her feet, that she could do upwards of 20 to 30 pull-ups at a time, and that she was just a beast in the gym.
While deployed, Ashley and other CSTs supported Rangers on night raids, engaged in combat, and were responsible for gaining vital intel for the war on terror.
I think courage is going into the unknown 100% regardless of the outcome. Ashley and the women on the cultural support teams, they went out there not only into combat with these units, but they were successful. By the results of everything that they were getting for mission success, it proved that we were needed out there.
Ashley was making history integrating into special ops.
She was praised for being a badass, and her work ethic earned her her spot and earned her respect among the Rangers. We just didn't realize the scope of danger she was in, being in combat, being on the front lines. We're from a very small town, and when we were escorting her to the funeral, the entire trip, the streets were lined with people holding flags. You know, it was just so amazing to see the community come together and to pay tribute to her and her sacrifice.
Ashley's death was a pivotal moment in bringing awareness that women are in combat.
Courage is believing in something, and through the military and the CST program, that's what Ashley was doing every day. My sister was part of history, and what she and the other CSTs were doing over there is just remarkable. It's so amazing to think that we have women walking next to us that are willing to sacrifice everything for the sake of others.
Stay tuned for more Gold Star Tribute, a national salute to America's heroes presented by Hyundai. This Memorial Day, no matter how you celebrate, take a moment to reflect on the true meaning of this day. For all the soldiers, sailors, airmen, Coast Guardsmen, Marines, and Gold Star families that have come before, and for those that will sacrifice again, we salute you.
It's such an important time for everyone to come together as Americans and remember those who have served regardless of which war or conflict it was. These were brave souls that stood up for our American ideals. They need to be remembered and honored, and they are the foundation for our country.
It's a remembrance, and it's a reflection and a look back on who these people were and what they did, because it's important. It's something that we don't want to forget.
I believe that my dad would not want us to mourn his death, but to celebrate what he stood for in his life.
Through celebrating our heroes that have gone before us, I hope the American people will understand that freedom is not free.
My son was always choose to be positive, and I think my wife and I choose to be positive.
We're given this opportunity to live, so we do everything in our power to live through her and to keep her legacy alive. And I think that's what motivates and inspires us to keep going.
So good to see you.
Every family has that hero somewhere, and it can't be forgotten. It's our sense of responsibility that we have to carry it forward to be better humans.
As the annual Hyundai Air and Sea Show comes to a close, may the memories of our fallen troops and their stories lift us up, and may their selfless values inspire us to be better.